Friends, congratulations. What a week. What a week. What a week in the market. What a week in the market is crazy. I think a lot of us did very well. I think a lot of us made a lot of money. Oh my God, where do we start here? Listen, I don't want to talk about like saying that I have been right about this, but listen, to all the haters out there with Palantir and that have been telling me to, pretty much go find a cliff and fall off of it. Listen, this is what I've been saying with the Palantir in the White House situation. I was like, listen, it is so clear that Palantir is going to get some kind of deal with the administration because Alex Karp and Trump have been drinking coffee. They've been rubbing shoulders, shaking hands. We knew something was potentially coming here, and it did, okay? So I've said it once. I will say it again. If you're going to be an investor, it's like being a detective. You got to look for clues. And when you're investing, you're looking for every single clue you can find. And it seems to be we are doing good right now because we're following the clues. So, friends, thank you so much for being here. Listen to me yap my gums here. Let's talk about Palantir. Let's talk about Big Bear. So, you've got Trump, you got Alex Karp, and you've got Dan Ives. And now the reason I put Dan Ives on here is because Dan Ives is still very much in the circle of saying that he believes Palantir is going to $1 trillion market cap. It's going to have a great future. We're talking about stock splits. We're talking about $1 trillion market cap. We're talking about crazy hype on the crazy push on the stock price. We're going to keep going here. And maybe when people talk about this $200 stock price on Palantir, maybe it's not as crazy as it sounds, okay? Maybe it's just like, that doesn't sound too far off from what we've seen here. So going to my very complicated map here that, obviously if you've studied at Stanford or Harvard, you might understand what this says here. But essentially what I've said here is the road to 180 by October. Can we get there? So right now, Palantir has achieved 110. It's achieved 130. Obviously today. Can we get to 150 by the summer? Okay, now 150, I think that's very possible. Now we're gonna have to see a lot more push. Obviously, some stuff is gonna have to take place here. A lot more shares gonna have to get eaten up. A lot more money involved going into Palantir. But all in all, I mean this right here, this is the ballpark right now. The new brick wall that Palantir is sitting at is this 130 and some change. Okay, so we've achieved the 130s, okay? I think that's pretty safe to say. Now, if we can get Palantir to maintain a 128 to 132, that is going to be a telltale sign that we're going to start bleeding, pushing up and, scratching at the surface here of like the higher 30s here, where we're looking at like, 36 to 39, and then eventually we might get into 140s here. So I know that sounds crazy. So all the negatives that people are going to say here, because there are people that, believe it or not, they don't believe in Palantir. They want to bet against it. They want to root against it. I don't know why they're doing this still. But the situation is that, yes, there will become a wall that is hit here with Palantir, but I don't think that we have found that wall at the moment here. And I say wall before quarterlies, okay? And I haven't even got to like what has happened today here. So, but like I said, I think 150 is very, very achievable here somewhere June, July in the summer, okay? Because it's feeding frenzy. And like I said, the negatives, is it too expensive, overpriced? Absolutely. I'll be the first one to tell you, Palantir is way overpriced for what it is at the moment, but you're not buying it for what it is at the moment. You're buying it for what is coming Q4 of 2025 at this point, maybe further than that, for the expectations of what is coming here. The other negatives, maybe. You know what? No, I'm not going to talk about any more negatives. I think there's just too many positives outweighing negatives at this point, and that is the situation here. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth, a stock that is just killing it right now, and it's going to continue that. So the news that broke today, according to a report, Palantir will back President Trump's executive order designed to boost interagency data flow. So obviously we could be talking about IRS, just government in general. So this has not been confirmed through a deal at this point. Now, what this deal would look like, I don't even know. I mean, it would be something crazy big, okay? But what is it doing? It's throwing more money into an already printing machine company that it is. Essentially, Palantir has already been doing so much with the government. I mean, it's been getting so much money from the government. And now we're talking about them not essentially, this really isn't like it's not really like a defense deal. It's more like a administration, in the government kind of situation, handling, everything with the government. So it's a very broad deal. Let's just say that at this point, there's not a minute detail of, what exactly this is going to, a black and white picture of what this is going to be with departments in the government. But essentially, it sounds like a massive, massive opportunity and deal for Palantir. Now, obviously, I knew something was brewing here. I just knew something was brewing here because, when all these tech guys with Trump went to, overseas Saudi, they had this meeting. They made these deals, all these defense deals, all this stuff that happened here about 2-3 weeks ago. Alex was there. Alex Karp was there. He was shaking hands. He was, rubbing shoulders, and he's obviously. And there's even there's video of him and Trump talking. Then, so we knew that. So what did that tell us? Well, that was a breadcrumb. That told us that Alex and Trump know each other. They greeted. You could tell that they knew each other. Okay, so we know that they're talking. We know that they are, friends. And we know that if. I'm just going to say, we know if Trump is talking to certain people, he's doing business with certain people. So I just knew something was going on here. Now, obviously, too, let's talk about the Golden Dome situation. Where the Golden Dome situation is still a play out there, and this could be a little bit of that too, obviously. But there's still that whole thing that's taking place here in North America, Canada, and us. With what could be happening with that deal, the huge defense deal. I mean, we're talking huge money here, friends. I know I'm going to mile a minute here, but you have to understand the severity of. There is not too many situations with companies in the past that have moved this aggressively, that have found money this aggressively, that have found structure in earnings in their company this aggressively. And Palantir is turning into this situation where, you're having to pay these high prices to be a part of it because of the expectation of what's coming here. So listen, we could be in a situation where maybe by Q3, Q4, Palantir is releasing billion-dollar quarterlies. They're obviously going to hit at least a $4 billion revenue stream this year here. I mean, they're so close to this point, we're obviously going to get it because they're still getting deals. So I would not be shocked to see Palantir get more into a hype push, just an overall feeding frenzy take place here. We've achieved 130. I don't think much more is going to be needed before we see just a new sell point come here with Palantir to where, Palantir falls to 125 and then we play around 125 to 130 for a week or two. And then it's like, whoa, okay, well, we're not selling off anymore. And then we see another push in Palantir. And then, now we're playing around 130 to 136 and we're playing there for a moment. And then maybe, somewhere in July, we're at 140, something like that. So, this is kind of where my mind's going with this, because we're seeing such a high inflation go into Palantir stock right now because of the expectation of what keeps coming here with these deals. With what is this monstrous deal that's happening right now with Palantir? What is this going to look like? So yeah. I mean, it's phenomenal. Listen, I'm just a fan of stocks. I'm just a fan of companies. I love the fact that me as an individual, I get to take my little bitty money here and I get to put it in companies and watch those companies grow. And you can put it in good companies. You can put it in companies that are growing, that are going to be household names. 2-3 years ago, NVIDIA was still making really good money and NVIDIA was getting a lot of conversation. But, now NVIDIA is it's in a path right now. We were like, this is insanity. So, and obviously, I'm not comparing NVIDIA to Palantir in the sense of money. So go and save the comment. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is companies can do really well at a moment, and people will go, well, they're not going to do much better than this. I mean, there's just no way they can keep achieving this kind of success. They'll never go past this. There's going to be a border here. Well, I mean, there's plenty of companies, that we've seen 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that were doing really well, and people were saying the same thing. Well, they're never going to go past, a $5 billion, revenue, in a year. They're never gonna make a $2 billion quarterly. I mean, look at Oracle, for God's sakes. I mean, look at what Oracle's done in the past 3, 4 years. I mean, look at all the chip companies, what they've done in the past 3, 4 years. You look at Palantir and you look at the software, what Palantir is providing right now. Obviously, NATO wants it. We have it. We want more of it. I'm sure Canada is going to be involved here soon. Listen, Palantir has found this niche, this niche, this avenue of where they have business, and they're doing business good because everyone wants it, and they're just eating the money up here. So I think it's still a very much hot play, and I still think there's a lot of money to be made here with Palantir. 100%. We're not seeing the train stop. That's what should scare people. We're not seeing it stop. So every time Palantir has a quarterly, immediately you see these analysts come out and go like, well, it should slow down here. That they can't find this much business. They can't find that much more business right now. Well, they keep finding more business, and right now they're in the administration, for God's sakes. And what do we know? It's happening. Palantir it's been its whole legacy at this point, the backbone of what got the company where it's at, a lot of it right now, and got it the deals outside of the defense, essentially was the defense deals that have been a brewing here for almost 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever you want to call it at. So right now, Palantir is in an amazing place where you've got the Trump administration, who still has a lot of time in the Oval Office. They're using Palantir. It looks like they're using Palantir a lot more. And there's no reason that Palantir could not move into bigger avenues of where they're going financially right now. So I think it's almost like it's kind of scary to bet against Palantir at this point. I don't know that I would bet against it. If you're buying options, puts, calls, whatever, I don't know that I would bet against it. This is not a stock where I would be like, well, I think it's going to go back down to $90. And like I said, those analysts, when these quarterlies come out, they always go like, there's no more business. It's going to simmer down. It's going to sell off. We believe that Palantir should sell back down to $40. That's what it's really priced at. That's what it's really priced at, but that's not what it's going to go to. I've seen this so many times. I mean, it's just like, you have to realize some dogs just get loose and you're never going to catch them again. It's like when, I hate to use this analogy, but it kind of reminds me of like, sometimes people are just too smart to catch on. Does that make sense? And I'm not smart. I'm an idiot. But what I'm saying is that, I remember during like the GameStop, AMC, Bad Beth, whatever. But what I'm trying to say, whatever the company is. In the whole ape phase thing push, it's just like these TV guys, these TV analysts, like they could just not, they didn't get it. They just didn't get it. And you would watch them and be like, wow, it's going to stop back down. Well, a lot of it didn't. It just kept running, and people listen to them. And, and obviously this is a completely different situation. I am not saying that Palantir it's not being pushed like GameStop. It's not going to do that. Palantir is a healthy company that is making a lot of revenue, and it's in all the right pockets right now. It's doing very well. Really, what I'm saying is, I know someone will shoot right back at me with this, but it's being naive to the point that, you have to understand that there's a lot more going on with Palantir than just like, it's a great company. It's got FOMO attached to it. It's in a push right now. It's chum in the water, man. And short traders, day traders, week traders, whatever kind of trader you are, long-term trader, it's making everyone money at some aspect. I mean, some way. I mean, my God, if you bought this stock, Monday morning and you sold it today, you made a killing, okay? Depending on how much you could put in there. So I think people either get it or they don't get it right now with Palantir. There's a lot of different ways to play it. But listen, man, I'm excited to see what... I'm a fan. I am a fan of how this company is growing. It's a huge learning lesson for what companies can do and the structure that can be built at a very fast pace in such a short time. I mean, this is rare, 100%, but there's a lot of rare things in the market right now. I mean, we're going through such an industrial phase in the market with stocks that we've never seen, find so much, revenue at such a short pace. I mean, so going into Big Bear here, I just want to inform you, if you want to have your lawsuit with Big Bear, you're running out of time. I had to, man. It was too easy. So obviously this lawsuit situation is, it's pretty much coming to an end. Thank God. Let's get this wrapped up. Let's get this done and out. I think everyone is over it at this point. So you're still seeing a little bit of articles like this, but they're dying down. Obviously, they've only got so much time left to, for you to legally contact a firm and say, hey, Big Bear did this or that. Investors don't care anymore. Okay, we've moved on. We're way past that dumb article. So right now, to me, I'm going to be honest, I think Big Bear had a tremendous week. I think this was just an amazing week. We ended the week above $4, okay? That's great. We didn't do that last week, okay? And I'm going to talk about Big Bear more here over the weekend, but this is a dead giveaway right now that we are headed for some bigger, deeper water that's coming here with Big Bear, okay? I think this is absolutely fantastic. I think we are building a staircase right now into $4.80, $5, maybe $6 here, position, getting into June somewhere. Listen, I am one. People say this all the time, like, well, you're not realizing that Big Bear is undervalued. Friends, I know Big Bear is undervalued. Okay, like either way you cut it, I know it's undervalued. They're making a lot more money than some other stocks right now that are sitting at $10 to $12. I mean, it's just the fact. The problem is they've had this situation occur here with this lawsuit situation that came up right when the market sold off. So, Big Bear just took a huge knife to the gut there. So, listen, I am very excited. I know a lot of you have been making a lot of money off Big Bear so far, buying, selling. And especially, I mean, look what Big Bear has offered just in the past 24, 48 hours with, this thing sold off to under $4 here, essentially yesterday going into the later part of the day. And then, this morning, you could have bought it for a very nice price. And then it ran up to, $4.30 almost again. So to me, this was an amazing week. I mean, we had highs of almost, 460. I think most people would agree we're getting a nice long staircase built here with Big Bear, and I think we're definitely going to find a $5 position here pretty sooner than later. Now, obviously, the market is very tipsy-topsy here. Now, last week was a rough week for us. This week was okay, but still a lot of roughness was happening. So, friends, like I said, I'll talk about Big Bear more here. I kind of spent my whole speech on Palantir, but I'm very encouraged with what Big Bear did here this week. I think it's tremendous. It's just a good feeling. It's just a good feeling. It didn't have to do this well this week, and it did. It's a dead giveaway that, even last week we saw Big Bear survive the market, and Big Bear had a good week last week. And then this week, I mean, couldn't have gone any better. So be excited about that. Be excited about that. Friends, I'm going to stop yapping. Listen, it's a good week. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. I will be back tomorrow yapping. And I just thank you all so much for listening to me talk here. I really do appreciate it. It's quite amazing that people listen to me, and we all enjoy stocks and investing and changing our lives and helping our family. It's a tremendous thing, and I'm so enthralled and so just so happy when I can find people that understand the stock market and love investing in the stock market as much as I do, and are just so amused and just excited about that you can take $5 and turn it into $8-10, and then take that $10 and turn it into $20 if you just follow some simple things and teach yourself a way in the market. Listen, anybody can make money off this market. Anybody can change their life in this market. You can really do this. It is very possible. I am walking proof of it. I can promise you that right now. Friends, take care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.